This is a quick look at fast Fourier transform in GIMP. It's a method of improving an image that has a regular pattern of defects, not random dust specks, but you need something like this, where this is a scan of a photograph of a oil painting, and you can see there are regular little dimples over the whole of the image. And normally you would try first of all the despeckle filter, so we'll have a look at that one, and it works very well. You can play around with the settings and try and get an optimum improvement. And when we look at it, zoom in, it's removed the bulk of the pattern. Still a little bit there, but you can see in the sky still a remnant of the original pattern that we're trying to remove. So we'll try and maybe sharpen it to pick the corners out a bit, and generally what happens when you sharpen it, you get the original pattern tends to come back. That sharpened it a little bit, but the dimples tend to come back. So we'll go back to the original image and we'll look at the gimp filter, which is an external plugin. And if we go down to almost to the end, the spectral handling and the Fourier transform, and OK that, does its work. You can end up with some very, very large images here, I must warn. So I have plenty of memory. And if we look at this, we get this very strange image, which looks like almost like a star field in this instance. And usually you would just paint out these little outlying, leave the central one well alone. Now then, these are quite a lot in this particular image, so I'm going to use GIMP to use a shortcut, and I'm going to use a gradient. Now I want transparency in this gradient, so I'll choose that foreground to transparent, but I want the transparency bit the other way around. It's also very circular, so I'm going to change the shape to radial, and I want the center to be transparent, so I'll bump that offset up to 15 in this case. 15 to 20 seems to be a good value. Now then, to constrain it, I'm going to use a selection, because this little grey bit at the bottom is data to restore the original image, and I don't want to mess with that. So using a selection, I'm going to draw with the gradient tool from the center out over. You need to experiment a little bit with this, but that looks good. Very important, go back and remove that selection, otherwise you get an error message on the next stage. So we'll go back to the gimp filter and the Fourier transform. This time we're going to go for inverse. OK it. And we get our image back. And then we'll zoom in and have a look at what this image looks like. Well, we've largely lost the dimpled pattern. It's a little bit softer than you would normally like, so we can go in and sharpen this. And we can use quite a high value for sharpen. You've got to be careful with this tool. You can do more damage than good with it. We'll try something like that, quite a very high value. and it sharpened it up quite a reasonable amount. So there I've put the three images side by side, and if we zoom in, you can see that's the fast Fourier transform, that's the despeckle with sharpen, and that's the original. Now a more usual one, this is a scan from a brochure, and the printing process in the brochure has left this very fine pattern of dots. And you can use FFT to get rid of this. Again, I've got to stress it's for a regular pattern. So just to remind you where it is, it's in spectral handling and Fourier transform, direct initially. This time we get this pattern. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush on this and a square brush at that. And just dot out these little bits of the inverse image. You don't have to be particularly careful with this. It's you can always go back if you make a mistake. And we'll do an inverse now. Oops, he says, inverse. Okay, that. And there's the original to compare with the tweaked version. Difficult to see, but it has largely removed those little dots. Now where to get the gimp plugin? You get it from there. There's versions for Windows, Linux and Mac, I believe. Windows users, XP, put it there in your user folder, plugin folder. Windows 7 users, put it there. Linux users, just put it in your home GIMP plugins folder. And an honourable mention to this one, this is called ImageJ. It's a little Java application, a scientific tool for microphotographs. And I've been using this before, starting to use gmix, but gmix easier to use. So I hope this little video has been helpful.